Welcome back. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Thursday, March the 27th. And previewing tonight's action, we got 10 games tonight as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. So starting at the top of the board, the reason why I'm wearing a Philadelphia Flyers jersey, John Tortorella has been let go by the organization. The Philadelphia Flyers naming Brad Shaw as the interim head coach. So we'll see what they do for next season when it comes to head coach. Maybe Brad Shaw interviews for that job and they keep him as head coach. In all likelihood, they'll keep their eyes open. Remember that once we get done the regular season, there's always a lot of bloodshed when it comes to coaching jobs in the National Hockey League. So, yeah, we'll see what the Flyers do. But let me know if you're a Flyers fan how you feel about this. If John Tortorella's been fired because of something he said at a press conference, and if this is his last job in the National Hockey League, that might be the most John Tortorella way of going out that John Tortorella could find. So, kudos to him for that. And maybe he was too honest, and maybe this is why, one of the reasons why players don't necessarily tell you 100% of the truth in an interview, because there could be repercussions for things you say about teammates, about yourself, about your job, about the organization, and these are things they'd have to keep in mind. But let me know your thoughts. Do you feel like, and understanding that Tortorella basically stood there and said, I'm not really all that interested, and it's my fault they're not ready. Do you think the Flyers made the right choice, wrong choice? Do you think he should have been bumped up in the organization? And I would totally understand them saying, we're not going to promote a guy because he decided he didn't want to be the coach. Totally understand that perspective, but let me know your thoughts. Dylan McIlrath, still around, still playing hockey, and mostly in Hershey. So Dylan McIlrath has signed a 2-year extension with the Capitals, $800,000 cap hit. The depth in the Washington organization is impressive, and the way that Hershey ramps these players up to join the Capitals is great. McIlrath, being a veteran on the blue line, good signing by them, and an $800,000 cap hit. It's completely variable in the minors. Variable's a word. And, so good on McIlrath still being around and getting another 2 years from the Washington Capitals organization. Stuart Skinner. So last night in the game against Dallas, there was incidental contact between Mikko Rantanen and the head of Stuart Skinner. It was ugly. It was. But there was no intention behind it by Rantanen. You could see Rantanen explaining that to the Oilers bench after, too, mainly to Corey Perry. But Stuart Skinner, not surprisingly, is not traveling with the team to Seattle today. And there's an article on Sportsnet from Mark Spector about how the Oilers should make sure teams aren't running their goaltenders, and yet Dallas didn't run their goaltenders last night. So at any rate, he seemed to be insinuating too, like, they should have gone out and run Ottinger. Sure, we'll go ahead and escalate everything. It is a callback to. I mean, I know that it still happens now, but the whole eye for an eye thing in hockey, it feels like that era's kind of gone by us. And I know there's people who want that back, but it does feel like that's kind of gone now. Players these day and age don't really necessarily function like that. So it was incidental. It wasn't intentional. So it's not like Rantanen went out there and ran him over. Skinner's coming out. Rantanen's coming in. It's a collision, and he caught the head of Skinner. So hopefully Stuart Skinner's not out for that long. The Oilers are going to have to lean on Pickard. They have made an emergency recall today to make sure the backup space is filled. But, the Oilers may be without Skinner for a bit here. Good news for the Wild when it comes to injuries, and I don't know that I have used that combination of words this season. Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek have resumed skating, so they're back on the ice. Not at practice. This is the before practice skate. But they're seen as week to week. We do not have a lot of weeks left in the regular season. 3 weeks left in the regular season? So we'll see if Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek return before the end of the season. Bill Guerin said at the deadline they expected everybody back before the playoffs. And here we are about 3 weeks from the playoffs, and we do not have everybody back as of yet. So, it's 3 weeks today till the end of the regular season. So if these guys are still week to week, it's going to be close. And you want your team to have everybody together before the end of the season. Make sure it's all working right. But at any rate, let me know your thoughts on that as well. So attendance discussion. There's an article today in The Athletic, or at least a very recent article in The Athletic, Talking about attendance in the National Hockey League, and the Winnipeg Jets attendance has gone up the most of any team in the NHL. They're up nearly 1,000 per game over last year. A lot of discussion last year about the attendance in Winnipeg, but as long as the attendance is up and keeps trending in that direction, gets back into the sellouts territory, Jets are perfectly safe. The Pittsburgh Penguins see the biggest drop-off of nearly 1,200 fans per game from last season. Totally understandable. And Pittsburgh, as a market, has had a reputation over the decades as one that doesn't go out and support necessarily as much when a team isn't playing well. But are they really alone there? Like, there's a lot of locations that don't support a team as well when they're not playing very well. San Jose, lots of empty seats there. Buffalo, tons of empty seats for years. And it's the team on the ice. So every time I see, they should just move that team. Why? Because it's bad? Because we're going to move teams because they're bad. We're going to be moving a lot of teams for a long time. But at any rate, Pittsburgh's attendance being down, not really a surprise there. Might be good news here for Canucks fans. So Cam Robinson's reporting that discussions between the Canucks and top prospect Tom Willander have ramped up. Willander, a former first-round draft pick of the Vancouver Canucks, playing an NCAA game tonight. That's winner, you're out. Aiden Celebrini, Macklin Celebrini's older brother, is in that game as well, and also is a Canucks draft pick. That's why I mentioned that. If Willander signs, he may very well play the stretch drive for the Canucks, which would burn off the first year of his entry-level contract, which the Canucks are fine with. They've done that before, and Willander would also get a cash bonus for signing with the Vancouver Canucks, which I think would be great. I'd love to see him in the lineup. I think that the Canucks blue line, if Willander turns out to be as good as advertised, their blue line's going to be good for some time to come. So, yeah, and I don't know that I've said that about the Canucks blue line. I don't know that I have. All right, 10 games tonight. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Starting off at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, Pittsburgh in Buffalo against the Sabres. Pittsburgh 29-33-11 overall. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10. They are 6 points back of a playoff spot. Buffalo 29-35-6. They're 5-5 over their last 10. They're 11 points out of a playoff spot. The interesting thing is both of these teams being, out of the playoff picture, but they're both playing pretty well right now and pretty entertaining hockey. So this should be a fun one to watch. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, the Ottawa Senators in Detroit against the Wings. Detroit can do themselves a major favor by winning this one in regulation. Ottawa could do themselves a major favor by winning this one in regulation. Ottawa 37-28-5 overall. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They're 4 points ahead of Montreal for that number one wild card spot. The Detroit Red Wings 33-32-6. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They're 3 points out of the playoffs. So Detroit needs a win, and they need some not 3-point games for teams ahead of them. We'll see how that one goes tonight. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start. Utah is in Tampa against the Lightning. Utah's playoff hopes have really taken a shot over the last week because St. Louis is just so good right now. Utah 32-28-11 overall. They're 5-3-2 in their last 10. I didn't mean to say the line, but I did. Utah 8 points out of the playoffs. And it does look like they're probably going to miss, but this experience has to be good for them down the stretch. Tampa Bay, 41-25-5 overall. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10. They are 2 points behind both Toronto and Florida for top spot in the Atlantic Division. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, the Montreal Canadiens in Philadelphia against the Flyers. So Brad Shaw's debut behind the bench is tonight. Montreal 33-28-9 overall. They're 4-2-4 in their last 10. They're 1 point ahead of the Islanders and the Rangers for that final playoff spot. Philadelphia, on the other hand, 28-36-9. They're 1-8-1 in their last 10. They are 10 points out of a playoff spot. And now we enter the post-John Tortorella era in Philadelphia. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific start between the Washington Capitals and the Minnesota Wild. Washington 47-15-9 overall. 8-1-1 in their last 10. Now they're only 13 points ahead of Carolina. I think they were 12 points ahead of Carolina the last time I talked about it. So, now it's only 13. Minnesota, 40-27-5 overall. They're 4-5-1 in their last 10. They're now only 2 points ahead of St. Louis for the number 2 wildcard spot. So, St. Louis is the number 2 wildcard. Minnesota is the number 1 wildcard. Minnesota may very well end up being the team that other teams are trying to chase down for that final playoff spot. Because at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, St. Louis can keep this rolling. St. Louis 38-28-7 overall. They're 8-1-1 in their last 10. They're 3 points ahead of Vancouver in that final playoff spot. Nashville 27, 36, and 8 overall. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10. They're 21 points out of the playoffs, and by my math, if Nashville loses in regulation, they're officially eliminated from the playoffs. By my math. So anyways, we'll see if St. Louis gets that done. Keep in mind the last game between St. Louis and Nashville was nasty. I expect that to be the case again tonight. 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific start. Dallas comes off of last night's game against Edmonton. They're in Calgary tonight. I would think Casey DeSmith gets the start against the Flames. He's been playing really well lately. For Dallas, 46-21-4 is the record. 6-2-2 in their last 10. They're 5 points ahead of Colorado in second place in the division. Calgary, on the other hand, 34-25-11 overall. They're also 6-2-2 in their last 10. They are 4 points back of St. Louis in that final playoff spot in the West. 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific start. The LA Kings in Colorado against the Avalanche. LA 40-21-9 overall. They're 9-1 in their last 10. They're 5 points behind Vegas for that division title that they covet. The problem being that on the road, LA hasn't been nearly as good as they are at home. So the Avalanche, who are very good at home, 44-25-3 overall. They're 8-1-1 in their last 10. They're in third place, and they're 6 points ahead of Minnesota. So pretty secure in that third spot, but there's still always a chance that they go on a run and they end up passing Dallas. That's always possible. We'll see if that, in fact, becomes the case. 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific start between the Oilers in Seattle. So the Oilers, 41-25-5 overall, 6-3-1 in their last 10. They're 2 points behind LA for second place. So if you're an Oilers fan tonight, you're also an Avalanche fan. Seattle, 30-36-6 overall. They're 4-4-2 in their last 10. They're 17 points back of a playoff spot. So Seattle, I'm going to go out on a limb, not making the playoffs. 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. That's right, Leafs fans. You got to stay up late tonight. Toronto in San Jose. Toronto 43-25-3 overall. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Toronto tied with Florida atop the division. San Jose 19-42-9 overall. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, of course, but just for the numbers, they are 36 points out of the playoffs. But hey, they're trying to get that 20th win. And if they do so against Toronto tonight, I am sure some people will have an opinion about that. But let me know your thoughts, including your picks for tonight's games, in the comment section below, as always. Who do you think should be the next coach for the Philadelphia Flyers? Or do you think Brad Shaw would be a good replacement? Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.